Issue 4 of Bloodhunt opens with a recap of recent events. The Avengers are broken. The Sorcerer Supreme is a ghost. An ancient temple of evil has been dropped into Central Park. Things are, overall, looking pretty doomed. Which is why Doctor Strange and Clea have gone to Doctor Doom looking for help. We all know that isn't going to go well. Doom is actually the one who narrates our opening sequence, and I really like it. Blade and the Blood Coven, carrying the Scarlet Witch and Thor, move to the Temple of the First Blasphemy. There they meet up with the Black Panther, T'Challa, and Blade just revels in being this close to victory. This is what he has been working towards for thousands of years. Since his second birth, trapped in a stone sarcophagus, drowned in blood. Oh! T'Challa now demands to know what Blade really is, and he finally says it. Blade says that he is the first, the original vampire, quote, his nomad spirit clothed in my faded vessel, the Daywalker's skin. I am VARNAE, end quote. In Latveria, Doctor Strange is surprised to hear that name too. Doctor Doom has, of course, figured that out easily enough. VARNAE has tried this scheme before, back in Blade the Vampire Hunter issue 5, which I brought up back in issue 6 of this series. So, how can I help you, Doctor? Doom says. Strange and Clea need a solution for the Dark Force. If they're going to save the Earth, then they're gonna need the sun. Latveria has clearly dealt with it in some way. So, that would be awesome, Vic. And Doom nods. Yeah, that was pretty easy. Someone was eventually going to do something terrible with the Dark Force eventually. So he's had a solution in place for a while, actually. He's going to need a great gathering of mages, a grand array of magical creatures brought together in one place, and then one more thing. And Strange says that he can do that. He knows a bunch of mages, but Doom says that he doesn't need to bother with that. He already has them. And cut to the Strange Academy kids. I'm not going to lie to you folks, I didn't think the Strange Academy tie-in was going to matter. I was just buying it because it had Kid Darkhold in it. I didn't even think that the Doctor Doom who appeared at the end of issue 2 was Doctor Doom. I honestly thought that it was Agatha Harkness just trying to trick Kid Darkhold because that feels like something she would do. And admittedly, in the shot of the kids that we get, which is just one panel, and none of them say anything or signal that they know Doctor Strange in any way, so it could be an illusion. But we don't actually see Pia or Kid Darkhold in that scene. So what is their fate? We still don't know. I'm still going to need to get Strange Academy issue 3 in order to finish out their story and see how that actually ties in. But still, exciting that it might actually have a role in the story. But what a good way to ensure that Doctor Strange works for you. You take his kids hostage. Oh, that's Doctor Doom, you rascal. With all that said, there's really only one thing that Doctor Doom needs in order to cast the spell now. He needs to be the Sorcerer Supreme. Strange just needs to give up his role. Doom is such a manipulative bastard. I love it. This is great. In Asgard, Tigra and Hunter's Moon are sneaking their way to Khonshu's cell. Nailed it. They chat with their third party member who wears pirate boots. So honestly, I thought that this was going to be Taskmaster. Jed McKay loves him some Taskmaster. But no, upon reaching Khonshu's cell, it is revealed to be the Wrecker of the Wrecking Crew. To quote Hunter's Moon, what better tool to open an Asgardian prison than an Asgardian crowbar, end quote. Which is so simple and beautiful and just a little bit stupid that I absolutely love it. The Wrecker and the Wrecking Crew were gifted with super strength by Loki ages ago. Some of them do wield Asgardian blessed weapons, like the Wrecker here, which is just a good use of continuity in history. I love this kind of thing. This to me is a fun use of history in a way that you don't normally get to see in the comics themselves. Back in Central Park, VARNAE chats with T'Challa about Atlantis, about righting the Darkhold, about starting his quest to become a god. Now that he has the temple, now that he has the living Darkhold in his possession, meaning the Scarlet Witch, VARNAE can finally complete the ritual and ascend. VARNAE drinks Thor's blood, and runes inscribed on the exterior of his temple light up. He calls the dark force down to him, absorbing it, becoming one with it. He will become a vampire that consumes all light, that consumes all warmth. He will eat planets, stars, entire systems. I am become the unliving dark force, he cries into the night. It looks like VARNAE has succeeded, until moonlight washes over him. The Blood Coven stares up at the freed moon. It can't be. Across the world, pyramid-shaped holes open in reality. Any traveler in the dark falls under the protection of Khonshu. And if the world is wrapped in darkness, then they are all his travelers. Khonshu releases an army of his fists, undead moon knights armed with silver who have no fear, no blood to be drained, no mercy for their enemies. And at their lead is his resurrected son, Mark Spector, the Moon Knight.
Bum, bum, bum. Dramatic reverb.
To steal a line from Tom King's Batman, hell yeah. VARNAE, however, isn't impressed by this display. It's too late to matter at this point. Behind his back, T'Challa pulls out a spike and stabs at VARNAE with it. But the demon is too fast. VARNAE grabs T'Challa by the throat with a Dark Force tendril. T'Challa's blood is his own, he says. He could read the attack. But how could he manage to attack him at all? Held in VARNAE's Dark Force tendril, T'Challa says that the heart-shaped herb has been healing him. It has taken some time, but it's done his job. He's back to being human. Which kind of invalidates VARNAE's previous sentence of, like, I'm in your blood, but sure, whatever, man. VARNAE laughs at the attack. It's still too little too late. Did you really think that such a small blade could kill me? No, T'Challa answers. He was just removing it, so that Thor could join them. His brain recovered from the spike's removal, Thor fights his way up to his feet. Sparks of lightning jump from his body to the temple, leaking from his body like blood. He will have recompense. Which is just fancy talk for avenging, Iron Man says, as the Avengers arrive. With T'Challa freed and Thor standing back up, the only member that they're short is the Scarlet Witch. VARNAE stares at them. Come, then. Come and face the unliving Dark Force. Time for round 3. My name is Ben, and this is Comic Book Breakdown's coverage of Blood Hunt Episode 15, The Villain Revealed, VARNAE at Last. This issue saw a lot of progress for multiple storylines as part of Blood Hunt. We finally have the VARNAE reveal. We see that Tigra and Hunter's Moon were successful and that Moon Knight is back, baby. We learn that Doctor Doom's custody of the Strange Academy kids happened. In a lot of ways, this issue makes some huge strides for our good guys. But things still aren't looking good for them. This isn't solved yet. VARNAE has everything that he needs to become a god, it seems. The Blood Coven have certainly handled the Avengers before, why not again? And if Doctor Doom can't get rid of the Dark Force, then VARNAE still has a whole dimension at his personal beck and call. So despite how good things have gotten in this issue, the fight is a long way from being over. The stuff that I personally liked the most with this issue was the reveal of the Strange Academy kids and Doctor Doom in general, and that scene with the Wrecker. I expected that Doctor Doom would lord this opportunity over Doctor Strange hard, and boy, does he. All of his dialogue is so condescending. Of course he knew that this was VARNAE. All the clues were there, you idiots. Oh, of course I had a plan for the Dark Force energy. Who wouldn't? It was obviously going to be a problem at some point. There's even this great moment when Doom asks Strange to tell him what's going on. We can talk doctor to doctor, he says. Doom is very politely saying that they are equals. Regardless of Strange's title as the Sorcerer Supreme, he is belittling him. And then he talks about how much more prepared he was for attack like this. Again, despite Strange's title and role as Sorcerer Supreme. Why is Strange Sorcerer Supreme, you might be asking, when he was so unequivocally unprepared for Varne's assault, while Doctor Doom was? And let's face it, it's because Doctor Strange isn't a paranoid dictator who fears everyone and everything coming for him, so he prepares for every possible threat. Stephen's a normal human being. Doctor Doom's kind of a psychopath. Case in point, him using the Strange Academy kids as leverage. What a great villainous low blow. Doom knows that Strange isn't going to give up the title of Sorcerer Supreme easily. Even with the world on the line, he would still cling to that job. That's what Strange is. It's what he does. But now, with those kids' lives on the line, Strange is going to be pretty incentivized to hand that job over. It's such a cold-blooded move on Doom's part, and I just love it. Like I pointed out, we are still missing Pia and Kid Darkhold, who are obviously the main powers of the Strange Academy tie-in, so I'm assuming we'll see what happens to them over there. Maybe Doctor Doom leaves them behind, maybe he just doesn't need them, maybe somehow they elude them and they're going to show up in Blood Hunt issue 5. I'd be really... We've got a lot of stuff going on for it all to happen in issue 5. So in either case, I definitely have to get issue 3. Like I wasn't going to finish the book anyways. But still, it is nice to know that the money put into that matters, at least to some degree, more than just I get to read a Kid Darkhold story. And I also love that the kids look totally bored and uninterested in any of this. Like, they've been kidnapped by Doctor Doom. Doctor Strange is a ghost, and they are bartering over the fate of the world, and it looks like these kids couldn't care less. They're just so disaffected in that scene. I love it. The Hunter's Moon scene with the Wrecker is great. I don't want to explain it again. I just want to say that I love it. I hated how Jed MacKay wrote the dialogue surrounding this reveal last issue. Before Doctor Strange teleports Hunter's Moon and Tigra to Asgard to deal with this stuff, they specifically like, can you teleport us and a third person? But they don't name who. So how they got the Wrecker, I don't know. I assume we're going to see that over in Moon Knight at some point. But I do like that keeping it that vague led to the reveal here. The Wrecker showing up was an honest surprise, but it fit perfectly and it felt like it had weight to me. The Resurrection of Moon Knight payoffs super well as well. It is so cool and dramatic and weighty. And as someone who's been reading the current ongoing Moon Knight story, it just makes me a little frustrated that I'm going to have to buy Blood Hunt again to work it into my Moon Knight collection to start the next volume of Moon Knight, undoubtedly, which I'm going to have a real hard time not picking up Moon Knight if Jed MacKay stays on it. Honestly, the resurrection of Moon Knight in this issue felt more important than the reveal that Varne had possessed Blade. That reveal honestly feels like it glossed over so fast. We see pretty much no reaction from T'Challa. We don't get any kind of background summary or flashback to explain what that means. If you weren't willing to Google Varne and do some research, or if you hadn't picked up Black Panther Blood Hunt issues 1 and 2, then this reveal means nothing. We haven't even gotten a good explanation of how Varne came to possess Blade yet. This could have been the moment for that. T'Challa could have gone, "Who are you?" and Blade would smile and tell the story of how this happened, and then you would get the full-page reveal of, "I am Varne!" and it would be cool and dramatic and over the top and everything I love about comic books. I do, however, want to commend Pepe Larraz on his redesign for Varne. His Varne looks much more bat-like than the character that we saw over in Black Panther. The original design of Varne is very, like, ogreish. He is said to be, like, in a vampire Ranthopithecus, I believe is the term. It's like the thing that was human, that humans evolved from. That's how old he is. Humanity didn't exist when Varne became a vampire. But he just kind of looks like a big fat flesh monster from Resident Evil more than he does what we think of as a vampire looking dude. If this story were a video game, Varne looks like he should charge at you and then explode and then do like AoE damage because of his poisonous blood. Larraz's interpretation, however, looks very Man-Bat-esque from DC's Batman comics, and I love Man-Bat's overall design. I like a nice human-monster hybrid, so I'm down for it here. Every universe should have a Man-Bat equivalent, as far as I'm concerned. Let's Man-Bat it up. I am surprised at how much narrative has happened so quickly for this story. Like, Blood Hunt is going to end before we even have all of the tie-ins at hand. Black Panther issue 3 has already paid off. After all, we've got the Strange Academy kids here, despite there being one more issue to go of that miniseries. Moon Knight is alive, and that was not reflected in the new Vengeance of Moon Knight issue that came out this week. The only reason I'm not covering that as part of this series here is that it really has almost nothing to do with Blood Hunt. The Vengeance of Moon Knight issue, I think it's 6, might be 8, is very much a Vengeance issue, not a Blood Hunt issue, which I'm okay with. I'm just saying, we didn't see this reflected anywhere else yet. I do love the fast pacing of Blood Hunt. It kind of feels like I'm watching a summer blockbuster, but I do not like how ill-timed the release of some of these tie-ins has been. The tie-in should be ending before the main series ends, not the other way around. Quite frankly, this is a little bit whack. There are still 6 more tie-ins dropping before issue 5 that I intend to get, and 2 more that drop after issue 5 comes out, if the current scheduling stays where it's at. And that's just weird. That said, thank you for sticking with Comic Book Breakdown on this particular series. This has been exhausting, but I'm still having a lot of fun. I was kind of I caught myself bouncing while I was doing this recording, just because it was such a fun issue. And I was like, I gotta sit still. Please don't do that. Our next episode is probably going to be Black Panther issue 3, unless something like really crazy happens in Doctor Strange or Werewolf by Night, which come out this week. I do intend to pick those up. I will still cover Doctor Strange because at this point we're invested in the narrative and I want to finish it. If Werewolf by Night feels important, we'll put it in here. Maybe I'll do that as just a one-off on its own. But yeah, Black Panther issue 3 is probably going to be next. Thank you all for your time and attention. See you in the next set of episodes. If you enjoyed this episode of Breakdown, please make sure to hit that like button, and if you are not subscribed to the show, then click on that as well. I love getting feedback, and I would really appreciate it if you did so. If you have any questions, concerns, or would like to suggest a comic or a series to me, Breakdown can be found on Facebook, Instagram, and on a variety of podcast platforms, with links in the description for this episode below, as well as the email cbbreakdown@gmail.com. Thank you for your time and attention.